This week on the SA Rugby Oak podcast.
Just become a Uruguay fan?
100%. The Uruguays are awesome. Borbis Reiner, another hat-trick. Unbelievable. I think again,
two of the fastest. No. It was slightly slower than before, but he's got the two fastest World Cup hat-tricks, and he's only played 2 World Cup games.
And listen, if you don't know anything about rugby, don't talk to me, man. That's classic Eddie Jones.
Welcome to the SA Rugby Oak podcast with me, Matt, the SA Rugby Oak, and the legendary Try-Time George.
Another fabulous week of Rugby World Cup extravaganza, if we're going to call it that. And good to be back.
Great to be back. I mean, it feels like the weekend. Every Sunday I'm watching games thinking it's a Saturday. Friday nights I'm confused coming home from work on the beers, watching the matches. We are in a festival of rugby. The World Cup is fully underway. We've had a couple of great games. We've had a couple of average games. And we've had a couple of bums on seat exciting games. So, George, without any wasted time, let's get straight into the games that have happened this round. Starting us off on Friday, we had France-Uruguay, 27-12 to the French. Look, it was a French second team, clearly. But hell, I think I posted it on social media. Did I just become a Uruguay fan?
100%. The Uruguays are awesome.
I mean, the passion those guys showed came into the Frenchman's house. And, I mean, at one stage it was, 13-12. It was a bit of a mishap of a kick, happens to the best of us, where the French second-choice hooker, fantastic, he'll be now the first-choice hooker, but second choice at the game, bit of skill to dot the ball down to eventually pull away. But, geez, those Uruguayans looked organised. Their defence was good. And France looked a little bit away with the fairies.
They did. They, like you said, it was sort of their B, maybe even their C team. If there even is a C team.
There was a couple of first-team players dotted in there, so definitely a B team.
I think maybe 3 or 4 first-teamers, but I don't know, I might be wrong. But they just didn't look up to it. And Uruguay did. They turned up. They put on a hell of a show. And that's what the Rugby World Cup's all about. Get the minnows to put games in like that, open people's eyes. I mean, it wasn't the most incredible game to watch, but it was great to watch in terms of what Uruguay were doing to the French at home.
And that you talk about, you've got your home World Cup. There's so much pressure on you to win it. And France have handled that pressure to a certain extent in that first game. But, geez, when it started going sideways, there were a couple of wide eyes not knowing what to do. And the amazing thing after the game, the Uruguay captain, I don't know if you saw the footage.
Warrior.
He just rock and rolled into that interview afterwards, bleeding from the head, taped up, and he just berated the reporters, being like, "Listen, only 2 of you pitched up to our team announcements, and now you're all here to talk to us. One of these to them." And I thought that was absolutely great. I think France will probably chalk it up to a second team, but I think no, it's not good enough. They're going to have to improve in the next round. New Zealand, Namibia, 71-3. Not much to talk about. Put to tea.
Terrible injury as well, though. Terrible injury. Hopefully, I think he's just had an operation, so recovering.
Yeah, they're good. Number 12. Classy bit of what is it? A bit of generosity from the All Blacks afterwards, all signing a number 12 shirt for him. He'll, I'm sure, cherish that for the rest of his life, along with the bolts in his leg, I would imagine, because, geez, that did not look nice. But look, not much to say about the game. They started a first team, pretty much 20 of the 23 who started against France. They needed to make a statement, and the poor Namibians were on the back of a backlash.
They were. Great to have some of them in your fantasy team. If you did, Damien McKenzie was my triple captain, so
mine too. Heyo.
Damn.
We did well there, at least. Swiftly, we'll move on to Samoa, Chile, 43-10. Chile's first World Cup, but that's the first part of the game there. It was quite entertaining, and I will admit I only watched the very beginning before heading down to a lovely riverside pub. But Samoa pulled away at the end, right? Showed a bit of class, and obvious within the last kind of 30, 40 minutes of it.
That's the thing. They've got the depth, or the talent to take it through to the end. Chile had a tough game against Japan to start with, so they're probably a bit knackered. And poor Lima Sabuaga's lost his tee. Where's the guy?
Lost his kicking. He had it since he was 14 years old. He didn't say someone stole it, so it might have just cleared up with the kit. But I'm the Solary Rico. Some arsehole stole it. Let's get it back. Lima needs his kicking tee back. We need Samoa to get a couple more points in this World Cup, as they rightly should. Next one was Wales-Portugal. Obviously, Wales playing a second team, of course. They still managed to win 28-8. Portugal showed some little bit about what they're about.
Yeah, I was a bit offended when I saw Reece Zammit do the "see," because I think that was a bit of a dickhead move to do against the Portuguese. How dare you? I mean, but yeah, they did play their hearts out. I like listening to the interview after the game. There was a young guy interviewed, player obviously, and that he was just happy to be there, happy to get. He just wants the sport to grow in Portugal because obviously football numero uno. So let's help the Portuguese. They come play Curry Cup. Come on.
Well, if anything, your man Reece Zammit is probably in the headlines in Portugal, so hopefully it is growing the game. I have nothing. I'm not offended by it at all. I mean, I'm not Portuguese at all, but listen, it's trolling 101. Like, he's come out there, he's scored a try, and he's just in your face. Doing the Ronaldo celebration. We're better than you. You can go suck an egg. We've dominated you physically. You're nothing. You know what? I love it. That's part of what rugby's about. You're in each other's face. You sort each other's out after the game, have a beer. But, I wasn't so offended by it.
I say that, and I probably did similar things when I played rugby. So I should just keep my mouth shut.
Saturday, we had Ireland-Tonga. So Ireland, obviously, before that only had Romania, not much of an opposition. Tonga, it was 59-16 at the end there, but was that a fair reflection of the game?
I don't think so. Tonga looked good, really good in parts, and they were putting it to the Irish. But fair play to the Irish. They pulled away. They had a solid team. They didn't take any risks with putting out a sort of a B team. I mean, you shouldn't against the big Islanders, strong. But yeah, I watched the game after a couple of beers and pims, so I saw it through blurry eyes. But yeah, it is what it is. Maybe they're a little bit tenderized for us now.
Well, there we go. We'll skip the South African result because we're going to talk about that a little bit more in depth. But possibly the fixture of the weekend was the one being touted as such. Probably the only one that mattered. Australia, Eddie Jones versus Fiji. So, George, 15-22 to Fiji. You're Eddie Jones. You've sat down at the press conference. You've won one game out of however many 7 that he's coached. What do you say to the world? What do you to get the boys going for next week?
Hey, listen, if you don't know anything about rugby, don't talk to me, man. That's classic Eddie Jones. But credit to Eddie. I listened to his post-match interview and he was really complimentary of Fiji, and I appreciate that because normally Eddie would come in. Eddie Jones, he's Eddie Jones. He can do what he wants. I don't know what he's going to say to his team because they did put up a bit of a fight in times, but flipping hell, Fiji scrummed well. Lineouts, okay, but they're scrummaging. They've got a couple of penalties, I think, against them. And Jim Hamilton said the other day, Fiji don't have a lineout or a scrum. You're going to eat your words, my friend, because they bloody scrummed those Aussies to the ground a couple of times. So Eddie's going to have to try and pick up his boys somehow, but I don't know what he's going to say, mate.
And you got to feel for the Fijians. They were one dropped try away from winning the group in the second week. You've got the guy's father coming out on on social media at the last week, apologizing for his son dropping the ball over the line. I mean, it was heartbreaking stuff. He just wanted, that he knew the whole nation were against him. Obviously, nobody's going to blame one person dropping a ball over them. Such a legendary player as well. But, geez, Flying Fijians, they're back. They're in it. Again, that's another pool of death just because of the opposition in there. Wales, Australia, Fiji. You could have the next game, Australia, Wales. Australia could win it. You never know. And then all of a sudden it goes down to points difference. That's one to watch for sure. Guys, we're recording this while England are playing Japan. At the moment, England are 13-9 up. Look, it looks like England have found a bit of form. I don't think Japan are particularly good at the moment. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll mention it next week. But for now, George, let's go on to the game of the week. For us, probably not the most exciting, but a hell of an important one.
It was a hell of an important one. The Bokke. It was very important for me because I knew that my feet were going to be absolutely dominated by ice. And I'm not going to show you people my feet because A, they're not nice to look at, and B, they look even worse now.
If anyone didn't watch last week, George lost his game of 2 truths, 1 try, and the week before he'd given me the forfeit of eating a clove of garlic, a raw clove of garlic every time there was a try in the first match. So I decided to come at him probably a little bit harder than maybe I've upped it a little bit too much. But he had to put a cup of ice over his feet in a bucket every time the Springboks scored and keep it there throughout the game. So it wasn't a great day for him.
It wasn't. Also, you said I could take my feet out for every point Romania scored, and they got it.
I did expect them to score some points because usually in those kind of games, I mean, they scored a try against the Irish, who are supposedly the best team in the world. And look, there's something that actually I want to add to that is I think we are the only team in the World Cup who's not had a try scored against them. It's 2 rounds in. We've also only conceded 3 points in 2 matches and scored 100 points.
Almost 76 and 18. My maths is not great, but
76 and exactly. So, what can we take from the game other than we got to try some stuff and it was a good training exercise?
That's exactly it. It was a good training exercise, and then 2 guys in particular, so Dion Free and Mark van Staden, got to show everyone that they can play hooker. Obviously, Marku's throwing is not his strong point because he's not done it for however long. So you can see his lineouts were quick, 2 ball up, get it out. So that was positive because he's nailed them, scrummed well. I was glad to see Dion came on as a hooker, but then shifted to flank very quickly, because he's done it for years. Yeah. He'd not played hooker for a year. It's been a year since. However, from that game, positives obviously was that. Kobus Reinach, another hat-trick. Unbelievable. I think again...
2 of the fastest... No. It was slightly slower than before, but he's got the 2 fastest World Cup hat-tricks, and he's only played 2 World Cup games. So he scored 6 tries in 2 games. I know it's against Canada. I know it was against Romania, but not everyone scores hat-tricks even when they play these teams. So unbelievable. No. He had I think 9 minutes in which to try and beat his record. Frustratingly, that didn't come to pass. But big training exercise, touch wood, no big injuries. No, which was great.
Vincent Koch got injured pre-game, so hopefully that's okay. I heard it's a knee. I think it's the knee, so that's not great. Hopefully he's okay. If not, we have got a very good prop waiting in the wings back home, Thomas Dutoy. But it would be sad to see Mr. Incredible signed out. And of course, I don't want to talk about it too much. Malcolm Marks being out is massive. Other positives as well. I'm just going to go straight into Makazole Mapimpi. 3 tries, 184 meters, man of the match. Wowzer. Showed his pace and just made a big statement again, because obviously he's not been in the starting lineup, I suppose.
I think he's secured his spot as It's the worst thing to say, but as the last choice wing. But what he's done is made him irreplaceable and allowed us to go, Kane Moody, sorry, buddy, you're playing in the centre now. And you might be third choice centre. You might be second choice. That's up for debate. However, Marcus Mapimpi is here and he's here to stay. And for a 33-year-old, the man's still got some wheels.
Got wheels for days. So I was really happy to see him play the way he did. And another shout out for a great player that I've thrown shade to in the past, but Quacher Smith, what a game. He didn't rack it up for me in fantasy. However, pilfers, hard running, big tackles. Love to watch it. I know it is against Romania, but the Romanians were physical. They put us back a couple of times. Dwayne Vermeulen off the kickoffs got taken back a good, I think, 2 or 3 kickoffs. Got put on his pip. So
listen, Quacher, I've always said he's a horses for courses kind of player. Just because of his size, is he going to play the be-all and end-all games for us? I'm not quite sure, but he's a hell of a player to have in the squad for those games that you just need a little bit of a spark, a little bit of something different. But in saying that, his skill today, as you've mentioned with the pilfering, with his tackling, was out and out loose forward work. Okay, so really, really enjoyed watching him. A little bit concerned to see Dwayne Vermeulen go full 80. Jasper Visser didn't come on. It tells me that Jasper Visser is firmly the number 1 choice 8 for the Springboks going into the big game next week. But I think Dwayne's such a good option to come off the bench for 20 minutes. Why are we not keeping him fresh for next week? He could have played 30 minutes he could have played 60 minutes and let Jasper play 30 minutes, maybe to find a bit of that form.
Yeah, I don't know, unless there's something we've not been told about. Maybe Jasper has a little bit of an injury that we're not being told about. I'm not starting a rumor here, but we don't know.
We've got other loose forwards that could have gone into the side.
I know, but it could have been lastminute.com. Who knows? I'm making it up here. So, but I agree with you there. Dwayne, I thought, should have probably come off and give Jasper 20 minutes. Other sort of patches of shade we had there. I've said we got taken back in the collisions a couple of times. We got sloppy. I know when the weather changed, we just didn't. We were ridiculous. Scored 4 tries in 11 minutes. Boom, 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 and then weather changed, and then we kind of slipped into a bit of a slump. We didn't look great, sloppy. I get it. It was 25 degrees, wet. It was quite a lot of rain, but we just looked a bit lost, and I wasn't happy with that because we should have been at 100% the whole way.
I don't really agree with you there at all. I saw the slow-mo of that rain. That was bucketing it down. Okay, you can be the best team in the world. That's going to throw you off a little bit. The amount of rain that was coming down. You add to that these combinations are combinations that are not set and are not playing all the time together. And the ball was like a bar of soap there for a little bit. I mean, Villiers Leroux, I think, had a hell of a game, but fumbled the ball a couple. And you could see it was soap. It was flying out of his hands. It's really tough to play in those conditions. You can say it's warm. You can say the boys are professional. You can say whatever you want. These are new combinations. We're trying out crazy new things with players and combos and attacking line. Our rush defense is so all-encompassing that when you tracking back to then get back on the attack, you don't have as much time to think than if you were in a standard defense that was more set and steady as you move along. So we were getting a lot of turnover ball. The ball was popping out. The ball was being slung. We were trying sneaky things, all the stuff that we want to see in a game like that. And some of it didn't come off. And you know what? Romania, also an international World Cup team, they had a phase there where they kind of was probably the only time where they had any hand in the game. No offense to them. It was a couple of great breaks by, I think it was the Romanian 15, whose dad was in the crowd. And apparently, according to the commentary, his dad played against South Africa the last time they met in the 95 World Cup. And not only did he do that, he apparently met his mother there.
Yeah, met the mother of his dream. They went to a pub in Cape Town, and however many years ago that was now. Is that 20 odd years ago? And look where we are.
Yeah, there you go. Unbelievable scenes.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, I know what you're saying. It was it looked like someone put sunlight liquid all over the ball. So I do appreciate that. But there was simple moments where we really like. I don't want to bash any players, but people obviously just had lapses in concentration. So Villy had it at least 3 or 4 times, maybe 3 times, where he caught it at the one point, and all he needed to do was pass, but he did something. And when you watched it in slow mo, the rain was horrendous.
As that was happening to Villy, I knew exactly what everyone would be asked. Villy this, Villy that. The guy, he took his eye off the ball because he had a massive Islander turned Romania running at him. It happens to the best of us. He then dropped a high kick, which I actually thought he knocked backwards because that's what it looked like. And then the other one, he was running at full pace. He obviously tried to switch the ball into the other arm, and it pipped out. If you look at the rest of his game, he was in every single backline move. He spread that defense. He set up, I think, 4 tries on my count, and he got his first World Cup try at the end there. I thought he had a hell of a game, and I can forgive him for dropping the ball a couple of times in those kind of conditions.
I'm sorry. But, and then last, just to end this off I don't want to, again, we're not talking negative, we're just talking constructive. It wasn't Kane Moody's best game. I mean, he's only played 2 at 13, but it made me realize how young he is because he's only 20, and he needs a bit of experience. He had that amazing breakthrough, and he did it in a ridiculous behind the back offload.
But he needed to go one of the ways, right?
Yeah, but I
think he got a bit confused in that one in particular. Because the commentary said they picked up Mapimpi shouting and they said, "Oh, Mapimpi was so selfless, telling him to pass." And I think he was planning to pass Mapimpi, and he got just all caught up in. He hadn't turned to look. He didn't awareness. You see some of the best players in the world, including Mapimpi, when they're running, they're doing this as they go, just so they know what's happening both sides of them. Come on, the guy's 20 years old. Let the boy play. But I agree, he probably. In a very good way, we probably expected more from him.
He's delivered so much in recent games. I think that's now people are expecting every time. But you're allowed to have an off day. But I'm just pinpointing it wasn't his best.
We are now nitpicking as well. We're nitpicking as well, and I think you have to. I think a couple of things that also did work. Grant Williams on the wing, I thought he played exceptionally well. I think he's a viable option if there's 100 injuries. What I did like a couple of times, and before the game, they were talking about the potential of the Springboks breaking the field up into quadrants, and each scrum half, whoever's closest to the ball at the time, taking over. It didn't turn out that way. I think that was Rossi trying to just play some chess while everyone else was playing checkers. And what he did do, though, once, Kobus was caught in maybe a ruck before, and he just pulled in, popped the ball out to Faf, and it just changed the 4-second wait to a split-second wait, and it was fantastic to have that kind of incredible delivery. Look, do we need it in every single game? Probably not, but I thought he did everything you could possibly want, including a couple of great tries. I think another great... Faf was great at 10.
He wasn't bad. He wasn't bad. I'll be honest. I wasn't super thrilled, but again, he's sort of playing out of position. I know he played 10 for his team in Japan, but I'm going to disagree with you. I didn't think he was incredible. You could tell he's not an out-and-out 10. You could tell, but it was great having him on because then we had 3 scrum halves on the field at one point. He went to he did that same thing. He went and jumped into the ruck and did a quick offload. But he's an option, but now Handre's on the plane. So Faf no longer, I don't think, will be an option at 10.
Yeah, I think the rest of the World Cup. I think Handre's probably going to come in. Damien Willemse played nicely at 10.
Yes, I didn't, because normally I really wanted him to play 10, but I would really love to see him at either 12 or 15.
Yeah.
End of.
No, I agree with you.
But he did have a decent. Yeah, he had a
Just
decent game
quickly,
at 10.
going back to Faf, I thought, I mean, it was odd watching him pass because he looks like a scrum half, even though he's passing on the move at 10. But I thought his distribution was fantastic at 10. But yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I over-enjoyed the experiment. Damien, I thought was great. I think his stepping was outrageous. Yes, against Romania, but Damien is such a confidence player, and that's going to do wonders for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He could step you in a phone booth, as they say. The kid's got mad feet. But yeah, end of the day, the Booker, they got a lot of points, nothing against them, and now we are primed and ready to take on the Irish for next week. So, come on, Booker!
Absolutely. I think it's going to be out of the game next weekend. 1 versus 2 in the world. I think we
Biggest
will
game in the World Cup.
win the game because I think we're a better team. But we shall see. George, very quickly before we move on, do you bring Andre back or do you bring a hooker into the squad? What are your thoughts?
Bring Andre, but Andre's on the bench. Marnie Lebok starts. Andre's
I
not
don't think-
played for ages, but I said
don't
bring
think-
Andre. I think we're okay with hookers.
Yeah, I don't think you can start Andre just for this game time. And Mani Lebok is probably the best 10 on form at the competition. Obviously not the best kicker, we all understand that, but on form as a 10, probably the best form 10, apart from Old Man Sexton, who played averagely and scored a try and got the record. Well done to him. But I would go conservatively and take a hooker on board. I know it was fun to watch Dion and Marco playing, but Dion does not add the scare factor of the bomb squad as I think a massive Joseph Dweba running onto the field would be. I also worry that at 36 years old, he doesn't have the legs to play more than kind of 10, 15 minutes a game against tough opposition in the last kind of like 3 or 4 games. Whereas maybe a Dweba is a better option, fitter, younger. It's a tough one.
I've got nothing against Joseph Dweba. I just think Dion shows when he plays in URC how tenacious he is, and he's obviously not got the size of Malcolm Boks. He's got the pilfering skills, if
True.
not potentially better than Malcolm Boks. Giza can steal a ball. He can throw in a line out. He can scrum. He's obviously much smaller in stature, but he's got mad passion, big heart. And I'm not saying Joseph Dweba doesn't. He's not there yet for me. But I could be so wrong. You bring him up, and he could have the tournament of his life. So that's the thing, though. That's what you don't know what exactly you're going to get. It is a risk. It's a gamble not having another out and out hooker.
Yeah.
But we also don't have another out and out 10. And I think your 10s score your points when it's crunch time, and your hookers not necessarily, unless you Malcolm Marks who scored the most tries for the ball.
I mean, you're going to assume there's going to be at least one other injury as we go through. So I think they were waiting for the end of this weekend to make sure there wasn't another injury so they could work out who the right person to bring up was. Because if there was another injury, especially in the back line, it'd be like, cool, there's no conversation, we've got to have you. And you just bring up both. One thing I was quite disappointed on before we move on, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse Krill didn't get on the park?
No, he didn't. So we had 2 reserves that didn't even get a go.
So we had 2 reserves that did not play. But I was quite excited to see if Jesse was going to come on at 15.
I thought that's the beauty of having someone like him as well. I thought either at 15, he's been put on the wing, and obviously center's his natural place. I don't understand what happened there today with the subs.
Or it would be to bring Jesse Krill to bring that relationship with Andre Estesen up and have Kanan trial at 15. Perfect trial for him at 15. I just don't understand why you put a player on the bench and you don't play him in a game that doesn't matter.
Well, two players for 5 snakes. What's going on there, guys? Come on.
We have enough players.
What's going on, fellas?
If you didn't feel there was any value in playing Jesse Krill, someone else should have been on that bench.
Yeah. I do agree with you there. I am baffled. Obviously, during the game, I wasn't concentrating on that because my feet were killing me. So I wasn't even thinking about subs. But now that you brought it to my attention, yeah, I don't get it. But hey, it's done now. We are second on the log, obviously, because of points, bonus points. But going in positive to this big game next weekend.
Absolutely. Well, George, what we're going to do now is we're going to play a new game this week. We've brought in some outside help, a consultant, if you will, to bring us a bit of magic in the form of a quiz game. So, George, I've sent you a little package in the last week. If you want to show the camera, if anyone who's not watching, it is X Factor style buzzers straight from Amazon. Not a paid advertising. Other websites are available on the internet, some that will charge you a lot more money for a lot less. But we have got Quizmaster Shay joining us to play Let's Get Buzzed.
Right, as per the usual format, it's best of 3. Unlike your previous games, both of you will be playing at the same time. The first one to hit the buzzer and guess the correct answer wins the point. So the game spans over 3 categories with 1 point up for grabs for each category. So the way it works, I'll have a person or thing in mind, and based on the clues that I provide, it's up to you to guess who or what I'm thinking of. So this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. Within each of these categories, I will tell you a series of statements where you are not allowed any follow-up questions. All right. These statements will start off vague and will get more and more detailed until it gets to a point where it should be fairly obvious, especially with knowledge like you guys have. But at any point in time, you can buzz and interrupt me if you think you know the answer. The person who guesses it correctly gets the point. However, there is a Pollsmore prison rule to this. All right. If your guess is incorrect, it's immediately a point to the other player, irrespective of whether the other player knows the answer or not. All right. So you sort of have to balance between being a conservative Cassandra versus a risky Russell. One last thing. This will relate to people or things, not necessarily from the current World Cup. They may be very general in nature from any point in time. They won't relate to anything personal. George, I saw the fear of God in you when somebody mentioned an American house party from a previous episode. So there won't be any personal questions. So these 3 categories are player, country, and mystery. Mystery is a real black box and can be anything related to rugby. All right, I think after that very long intro, does everyone know what to do? Everyone on board?
I'm ready.
I know, baby. Let's do this.
All right. So hands on buzzers. All right. Category 1, player. He is or was a backline player. He's from the Southern Hemisphere, has dark hair, and has been in trouble with the authorities before. Anything there, guys? Just remember if you... Oh, that is risky, Russell. Very risky, Russell.
It's risky, Russell. I'm going to go with Julian Surveyor.
Oh, mate. Incorrect. Point to Matt.
Is it, can I guess anyway, even though I got the point?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it Gertley Beale?
No, it isn't. So let me go through the subsequent clues here, guys. Allegedly, this person has a real affinity for drinking and driving and has a real taste for fresh calamari and other seafood delights. So much so, he crashed his car into the beloved Ooskus fisheries in Gordons Bay in Cape Town, South Africa. Do we know yet?
Yes, I do. I know. Earl Rose.
Yes. I actually forgot that he turned himself in for stealing golf clubs from a Stellenbosch golf club.
Itchy trigger
Yeah,
finger
real
there,
fall from
George.
grace.
But I'll take the point.
Hell yeah. All right, on to the second one. Category 2 is country. This country was the victor in one of the biggest upsets in World Cup history. In this upset, one team was from the Northern Hemisphere, while the other team was from the Southern Hemisphere. Both teams involved in this upset have hosted the competition. Any trigger finger? Ooh, have you fallen for a trap here? What is it?
Oh, have I fallen for a trap? I didn't. Full caveat. I didn't hear the full question. Signal problems. Japan?
Incorrect.
Ah!
Can I guess?
All right, go for it.
I think it's France.
Hell yeah, sir. Hell yeah. Correcto mundo. So the follow-up clues were this upset happened in a semi-final with a passage of play that had the underdog scoring 33 unanswered points, which was not the semi-final, but the 99. This happened in the 99 Rugby World Cup.
Itchy trigger
So
finger.
Even
you cannot
Stevens.
forget that game. It might give away our age, but that was a time where there were plenty of French players with frosted tips, so you can't really forget that.
There we go, George. Here's your point.
Right, boys, so it's onesies, eh? This is the final one. All right, category 3 is mystery. So expect anything, folks. This New Zealander resigned in 2012 after a disgusting performance in the 2011 World Cup. All right, I will follow on. This New Zealander does not know what a ruck is or what hands in the ruck means. Answer, please.
Bryce Lawrence.
Correct, Mundo. George wins the meeting.
George.
And that's it, boys. George wins this one.
That's payback because my feet are finished.
Damn it. Well, Quizmaster Shay, an unbelievable first section of the quiz. We will definitely be seeing you again next week.
Cheers, boys. Just before I jump off, I just want to have a shout out. I really, absolutely love what you guys are doing. SA Rugby needs this. It's a staple of my weekly Spotify diet. Keep up the good work, chaps.
Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I cannot believe I've gone down after subjecting you to a pretty bad forfeit.
Yeah, I'm pretty chuffed there, and I'm going to take it, and my feet are going to take it, and you're going to take it. So watch this space.
I am
for
not
your
looking
forfeit.
forward to this at all. Guys, check out our social media. If you didn't see George's cold feet this afternoon, have a look. We've had a lot of good reactions from that. But I am pretty peeved that I'm going to be... Oh, damn it. Anyway, let's move on. George, I asked you to think back into the annals of your mind, if you will, to find out if there was a little story from your rugby playing games that we could use on Oh Damn Rugby, You Nasty.
My story goes back into the annals of history when I played Rugby Villages. 2014, setting the scene, Cape Town. No idea who we were playing because this was my memories for Ghazi now. But I just remember it was a big game, loads of people there. It felt like a derby game, but it wasn't. We won, and the boys celebrate. Let the boys celebrate. So we
The boys watch. No.
Yeah, we tucked into a good number of Pepsi Colas or Black Labels, whatever you want to call it. And we then moved the party from the village bar because we got kicked out, I think, because it was closing time, to the rugby hostel, which was there at the premises. They used to have a rugby hostel for some of the players. And I remember drinking with these boys there, and we got well and truly sauced. And I blacked out. Yeah, I just don't remember.
Was that a regular occurrence in the village's post-match
A
parties?
couple times. I'll be honest, a couple times I had those moments. But as you know, the boys remember. But this one, I think I was drinking some pineapple rum that I brought back from Malawi, and it was 5 rand for a big 5-liter rum, or 80 rand, whatever it was, but it was not made for consumption. And
you were partying like you on the islands, white sand beaches, coconut bras, etc.
And I was partying like a rock star. Anyway, wake up in the morning. So from drinking in the hostel to waking up in the hostel, I woke up on the floor like, one-eyed, drunk, don't know what's going on. I've obviously sobered up a little bit. Anyway, I proceed to get changed, put on my number ones again, ties, everything, and I walk out the door. I've got my car keys, and I can't see my bloody car. My car is nowhere to be seen in the village's vicinity. So,
dude, where's my car?
It's 100%. Where's the car, dude? I panicked. I was running around, knocking on people's doors. They all told me to F off because it's early, and they were hanging.
And you look like a stink, dude.
I look like an arsehole. But anyway, I panic over. I run to the front because there's an entrance with security guards and traffic barrier things, and ask them about it. And they're like, "No, not seen you or your car. Don't know where you come from." I'm like, "I play here. I play for villages." And they're like, "Go away." So I walk home. Luckily, it's not a long walk. Get home, and my dad sees me. I've had a car stolen before. So I walk into the house, and I'm like, it's happened again. My car's gone. And my dad's just like, "You are an absolute idiot." And I was like, "No, my car, I had it with me." And anyway.
When you come home stinking of liquor with who knows what hanging all over your suit and, sweating out the night before, there's nothing quite as bad as a father's judgment.
Oh, he judged me so hard. He's just like, "Not again, my son." My father was Greek, so the accent. Anyway, he just said, "Let's get in the car," my parents' car, not my car, "and I'm going to drive you back to villages, and we're going to find your bloody car because they've got CCTV and it's there." I went, "Well, it's not there, but let's go." He drives me there. We go talk to security again. They tell me to footsack, get away from us. Your car is not here. So my dad drives me home. He goes, "I'm going to go take a nap. You can do whatever the hell you want." So I was very sad. I was very sad. It's the second car now that I've allegedly had stolen. First one was legitimately stolen. And I shower up and I go for a walk, gather my thoughts. And I walk from where my folks live, down the road from Newlands Cricket Ground. And I'm walking over the bridge to Cavendish. If people don't know, I'm going to Claremont, central part of the southern suburbs. And I'm talking to myself. It's before AirPods and stuff, and I'm walking around thinking, "What the hell have I done?" And I'm clicking the button on my car key constantly. Just don't know why, but I'm doing it. And out of nowhere, I just hear blip, blip. I was like, "What was that?" What? I did it again. Blip, blip. I was like, "Oh my God," I could hear it. So I just kept walking, and eventually I wandered over to a car park where we obviously had gone the night before. I don't know, but my car was bloody there. It had petrol. It wasn't stolen. Nothing broken. I got in and I drove home. And I turn up and I run into the house. "I've got my car back." Father doesn't believe me.
Celebrations all around.
Something. He's like, "What are you?" Everywhere. Popping champagne. No champagne. But anyway, this is a long story. I WhatsApp everyone, which I probably should have done before. I WhatsApped the team, and one of the guys in the team who doesn't drink said, "Yeah, George, don't you remember you asked me to drive you guys out to Claremont to go Joel?" And I was like, "I'm going to drop you and I'm leaving." And you were just drunk. You didn't even know that. I was like, yeah, whatever. And so it was all legit. I didn't lose my... Where's my car, dude?
You know what you flipping word, dude. A mumpara.
That's actually what my dad called me. He called me that.
Oh, you absolute clown. Look, not the nastiest of stories, but what we've all been there, I'm sure, in some ways. There was a little bit of nostalgia on some of the stories I've had in the past. But look, George, once again, loved to have had this time to talk a bit of rugby with you. And I hope everyone enjoyed joining us. Please subscribe to us on YouTube. That really helps. We need to get that number up. So anyone who's watching this, please go on YouTube at SA Rugby Oak Podcast and subscribe to see more of us, to see more of George in those pit vipers. But look, guys, we really appreciate you listening. Pass it to a friend. Let everyone know about it. Follow Try Time George on Instagram for George, and at SA Rugby Oak for me at Instagram. Join the ruckus of the forfeits you'll see this week on the stories. George will be challenging me to a forfeit, which I mean I do have to accept, but I don't think I can decline. We'll see you all next week.